right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, beloved community. Welcome, my fellow women. Welcome, my fellow men, and anybody who is joining in this conversation. This conversation is a series of Mystical Mondays, and this one is dedicated to the power of reclaiming the witch archetype and also bringing awareness to a collective wound that is called the witch wound, right? So we're gonna go into contemplation of this topic. And just to introduce myself, my name is Katarina Satori, and my life is devoted to wisdom. One of my friends just recently said, he said, "Knowledge is power, wisdom is bliss." And that was my friend, Michael Ravenhood. Thank you so much for that quote, Michael, because this, in essence, really describe, why I feel so passionate about the path of wisdom. We can take many different paths. There is a path of meditation, there is a path of love or devotion, and there is a path of wisdom, right? And ultimately, why do we need to choose? Why don't we learn from each path? So the Mystical Monday is a new live stream series that dedicated to the paths that lead us back to spirit, that connects us to the new levels of our authentic power, and that encourages the connection with the sacred feminine that is awakening in our hearts, and not only individually, but on the level of entire world. So I want to celebrate that awakening, that we are returning to her story, to her wisdom, to her powerful magic. And who am I referring to? Divine Mother, the great goddess, right? And the divine feminine. So I share these transmissions and these conversations because I deeply believe when we return to that original wisdom, the wisdom that can be found inside our body, the wisdom of the earth, the wisdom of the cycles, we begin to return to harmony. And when we return to harmony, we begin to harmonize everything around us. So everyone benefits. So this is going to be a deep conversation, beloveds. And if you have specific questions, right? I know Sherry submitted a question that was very, very powerful. And if you have additional questions, please submit them in the comments, and I will look through them at the end of live stream and will do my best to answer them. I also brought 2 books that I recommend. I will recommend for you to go deeper into this topic, right? I brought some mystical objects to demonstrate this conversation, but let's begin with the word witch. And one of the reasons I wanted to create this live stream, because sooner or later, the path of the witch, begin to kind of like become relevant for you, right? If you are drawn to Gaia, if you're drawn to Mother Earth, if you're drawn to learning about your womb, if you're a woman, a heart, if you're a man, you begin to learn how to work with the elements, how to work with the wind and fire and air and earth. You begin to be drawn to these topics. Then you will start becoming curious about the topic of, well, who were the witches, right? And why was there's a time where 8 million women were accused of being witches and murdered, right? Burned on the stakes, and drowned, and done some horrific things, right? Why was there a chapter in humanity where things like that happened, right? And I find the word witch creates reaction in people, right? It absolutely creates reaction, and just for that reason, I'm curious why. And I'm always curious about the true meaning of the word, not the meaning that we can look up through a patriarchal description, right? And not through the representation of the Hollywood, because there was this movie. Have you seen the movie called Witches? I was so excited to see it. I think it was on Netflix. I was so excited to see it, and I started watching it, and I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, who created this storyline about a group of women who were evil witches and were putting spells on children? There is a reason why Hollywood gives that storyline, right? Because part of the collective programming that we have to become really aware, we get to become really aware, is this programming of patriarchy that we had for the last 5,000 years, that we had these messages and twisted myths and stories that were intentionally created to disconnect women from their power. Until this day, there are some stories that exist in the collective that female sacred cycles, we call menstruation, right? There are still storylines that is dirty, or need to be hidden or repressed or taboo. Year 2022, we still have that, right? But the powerful movement that is happening, the movement of the sacred feminine, is that women come into that remembrance that their bodies are sacred, that their moon cycle is the most powerful connection to the cycle of the earth, right? Their blood is sacred. And the cycles of death and rebirth and all of that, the regeneration, we are returning to that wisdom, right? And we usually begin to find that inside our body. So brush strokes, welcome to the transmission. The moment I've learned the meaning of the word witch, right? There's many translations, but the few ones is the wise one, right? The wise one. That's the direct meaning of the witch. And the word vika, it stands for to bend or to shape. To bend or to shape. So what does it point us to? It's a point us to a particular mystical or spiritual power that, in ancient mystery school traditions, there was this lineage of alchemists, right? People who knew how to transform anything into a higher forms of energy, right? They would use the power of the mind, the power of the will, the power of emotions to transform energy from one state to another. So the path of the witch is the path of wisdom, and it's the nature wisdom, where those women who were witches in the very, very ancient times, they were midwives, they were healers, they were oracles of a village, of the community, of the tribe, right? They were herbalists. They were working with herbs. They were working with seasons, right? And they were keepers and weavers of wisdom. So one of the reasons why I wanted to give this topic a voice is because a lot of times, we can feel the reluctance of maybe openly revealing that we have this passion for healing, right? And there could be reluctance to call yourself a healer, right? Or definitely a reluctance to call yourself a spiritual healer. Maybe not for you. Maybe you had that in the past, right? But I've, working with so many people, helping them step into their power, into their sovereignty, into their most bold, authentic expression. When it comes to sharing their deepest spiritual gifts, or coming out of hiding and saying, you know what, I'm actually deeply passionate about healing, spiritual healing, hands-on healing, working with herbs, right? Working with the body. Sometimes it brings up that hesitation or even fear, right? Fear of being so visible in your healing arts. And that's what I wanted to point to. The very first time I heard the term witch wound was actually from one of my mastermind clients. I led a mastermind that was a mix of leadership mastermind and mystery school. And one of my clients, we were working through her fear of expression, and specifically her fear of being on video. She felt exposed. She felt like she couldn't express her message. And, it was quite a challenge for her, right? It wasn't just like a lack of willpower. It wasn't a lack of motivation. It was a real inner block. And, when we were discussing that, she said, I feel this is the witch wound. She remembered her past life as a witch, as a practicing nature priestess, right? So this was the first time I heard that term, and I began to contemplate on that, because a lot of times I work with people on helping them upgrade their thinking, right? Upgrade their vision, upgrade their deservingness level, right? And in my work, I use past life regressions. This is like such a deep spiritual technology, and I began fascinated by past life regressions for my own healing. I think I remember shared that story with my community, that I had this unexplained animosity with my older sister, my biological older sister, that I couldn't explain. But I felt that coldness from my older sister, and I felt the lack of connection and the lack of understanding, and just kind of like, like this unfriendly energy. And for years, I tried to solve it. I tried to be nicer to her. I tried to be, more accommodating, right? And then I remember going to my own spiritual healer and sharing that challenge with my older sister. And my spiritual healer said, this doesn't come from this lifetime. This is the wound from your past life, right? So I began to become fascinated by past life regressions. Oh, and more support for my back. And I began to regress myself on a very regular basis, using a mix of self-hypnosis, ability to take myself into deep trance, right? And a genuine curiosity, like the open mind, ability to experiment with these ways of accessing Akashic records of your soul through past life regression. So when I started doing that, and I had an intention to get to know my key important past lives, I started accessing these past lives where I was a priestess and a spiritual minister and philosopher and definitely a witch, right? So I was accessing those past lives, and I was accessing the memories, and I was accessing the gifts of those past lives. And I was also accessing the fears and real traumas, real painful experiences. One of them I'll share with you in a minute after I will check your comments here, because I'm just going. Because I know my community. I have a community of deep divers, right? You love swimming into the deep waters together with me. So I'm not holding back, and I go deep with you, my family. I know my community. So my deep divers, I will never forget how I touched on what it's called the witch wound in my own, one of my past lives. I was taken through a trance as a subconscious process of past life regression. And I immediately saw myself in a square, in a public square. I saw the cobble street stones, and I saw myself being in the center of the square, and the people of that village, of that town, were all around watching what was happening. What was happening the next moment, the next scene that had unfolded, was my left hand was chopped off. And I had, like, when I was witnessing this scene, from one of my past lives, I was receiving information. It was a download of information that was my public punishment for being a woman at that time that was outspoken, that was speaking my perspective, my beliefs, my philosophies, right? And that was not the time where that was encouraged. That was one of those times where, if you were a woman of knowledge, a woman of wisdom, a woman of healing abilities, and you dared to speak your mind about that to be of help to others, you would be considered a witch, right? And you could have been punished like this, right? Your arm, your head, anything could be done to your body, like a physical punishment, right? So all of those memories, they are stored in not only Akashic records of our soul memory, but they're also stored in our DNA, in our body, right? So when we begin to awaken to a greater levels of our power, our true power, soul power, right, we begin to access these blocks and imprints and unconscious knots of fears, right? And we access them. Why? Because we're ready to heal it. We're ready to transform it. We're ready to alchemize those memories into strength, into wisdom. And I wanted to offer you an affirmation. I really believe in declarations, right? Affirmation. I'm going to say I really believe in soul declarations. Let's do this one. And it goes something like this. It is safe for me to be powerful. It is safe for me to be sovereign. It is safe for me to be prosperous. Powerful, sovereign, prosperous. For many years, I've been sharing the message of sovereignty. And especially for women, because there is not going to be a fulfillment and a deep satisfaction for a woman's soul until she creates her sovereignty, until she creates her financial stability, until she becomes her own woman, being able to do as she pleases, as she desires. Only then she begins to create her true art. When a woman is not sovereign, when a woman depends on somebody, right, she operates at only fraction of her potential. So sovereignty and power is this crucial stages of the female female ascension journey, right? Ascending to a greater reality of remembering who you are. So the witch wound, right? Or these memories of being persecuted for your voice, for your expression, for your knowledge, it's just a matter of time where you begin to touch on that, where you begin to find it, right? I do a deep work in the dream space. If you and I ever spend time together, if you watch my live streams on a regular basis, you'll hear me speak about dreams, right? And so many times people write to me and say, Katarina, you were in my dream, or I had a dream about you. And I'm not surprised about that at all, because dream world is like one of the direct ways I communicate with the world of spirit, right? So you may begin to remember your parallel lifetimes or these wounds of persecution, maybe in your dreams, maybe in flashbacks, right? Maybe in a past life regression. But it all begins with us being drawn to particular symbols. Symbols activate our remembrance. So in a symbol, what I mean by a symbol, I'm going to show you an ankh, right? This is one of the ankhs. I collect the ankhs. This is my new one. So an ankh is a symbol for eternal life. That means no matter if you and I have been burned on the stakes and have been drowned and have been killed for our voice, the one thing we know how to do, we know how to come back. We know how to reincarnate again to finish what we started many lifetimes ago, right? Powerful. It's never been safer to be in your power. And I understand that I am speaking as a Western woman, and I don't take this safety lightly. I could never do the work that I'm doing in my home country, Russia. And this is one of the reasons I am not in Russia. You know, I did everything in my power to leave a country of oppression so I could finish what I started many lifetimes ago. So I do not take it lightly that I live in the West, where I have this level of safety to be an outspoken woman, to share these perspectives and these philosophies that still are not that welcomed in some parts of the world. And with that understanding, I fully stand in my responsibility to share this message, to share these teachings, right? To help more and more women to remember, and men, because men have inner feminine within them. And I can guarantee you, so many mystical men who follow my work have been females, probably in the time of the witch hunt, right? We remember we've been all kind of incarnations, female, male, right? Anything in between. Our soul desires a diverse learning. So we have experienced many diverse incarnations, many different genders, right? So an ankh, the first time I saw an ankh, I had an immediate recognition. Immediate recognition. This is a tool that will help me to remember my power. Then the first time I saw a pentagram, 5-pointed star, I had a recognition. I'll show you this statue, right? 5-pointed star points to us, to the natural laws of creation. We have 5 elements that are not just elements, they are divine beings. So nature priestesses or witches, they knew how to work with elemental beings. They knew how to speak to the spirit of fire, to the spirit of water, to the spirit of earth, and to the spirit of air, and also ether. They were worshiping the moon, right? The moon was super important on the path of practicing being a witch, right? The moon, the blood, the moon blood, right, has been a very, very sacred offering to the earth that women would make. All kind of rites, a celebration of fertility and a celebration of all kind of rites, all kind of sacred experiences. That it's a very ritualistic path, a path of a ritual. a path of devotion, a path of being an emissary of earth, right? And the reason why, one of the many reasons why so many people connect to that path is because Mother Earth, Divine Mother, Mother Nature, is calling her emissaries. She is calling her representatives. She is calling those people who are willing to be her voice, her hands, her feet, her heart, to share her message, right? To be her role models. What does it look like to live in harmony with nature? What does it look like to create in alignment with seasons? Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. So the reaction towards the word witch, right, beloveds? I remember I had a very, there was a chapter in my life where I was a hardcore religious person, with deep, rigid belief system, right? Where anything outside of that religious box, I was afraid of that, right? And I, it was deemed to be demonic. Things like pendulum, working with tarot, right? Working with the moon was deemed demonic. How interesting. The most powerful ways to connect with nature was deemed demonic by a religion, right? Where women's sexuality is called evil and sinful, all of that. So when my consciousness began to awaken and break free from religious dogma, I began to question everything. And this is what I continue to inspire everyone to do. Question everything. Don't believe what you hear. Go research, right? And if you do your research, the path of witchcraft will lead you all the way back to the ancient Lemuria. The jewel of civilization ever existed on this planet, where the first nature priestesses knew how to connect to the elements, how to manifest miracles, right? How to create with the power of their song, right? So it's really interesting to trace as far as you can, and find the true origins of these paths of wisdom. So, hi, how are you? Love you so much. Oh, I see who is it here with me. Yes. So, beloveds, how does the witch wound and our ability to prosper is connected? I remember the first time I brought that conversation into contemplation of why sometimes we begin to sabotage our own growth. Why we begin to believe in these self-created limits. Why there's a particular level of prosperity that we get stuck, or particular level of maybe revenue, right? Because prosperity, to me, prosperity is a state of consciousness. Prosperity is like this inner flowering. It's a reflection of your self-mastery, right? Reflection of you living truly your life in a way that is authentic to you. But when it comes to wealth creation and abundance creation, and generating your financial resources or influence or leadership, if we have the fear of our own power, if we have these ancient memories lodged into ourselves that says, Last time I was powerful, I was killed. Last time I dared to speak what's on my mind, I had my hand chopped off. Last time I was an outspoken being, I was drowned, right? So when you begin to accessing those memories, the beautiful thing is that you can tell that you're ready to heal them. You're ready to transform those memories into power. A lot of times people talk about queen archetype or king archetype. There's like obsession in our spiritual community with those archetypes. And if we want to stand in those archetypes, then it's a mastery. It's a level of mastery to turn any pain in your life into power. That's alchemy, right? That's alchemy. And where I would encourage you to start is to fall madly in love with the earth, right? And to fall madly enough with ritual. Maybe you already practice new moon, full moon. Full moon is coming up this Saturday. Maybe you already practice this. Maybe you struggle with consistency. The moment you begin to see that that nature is your biggest ally, you begin to serve the earth, you begin to serve nature, you begin to communicate with the spirits of nature, right? You begin to fall in love with I was gonna say plants, like becoming curious about plants and crystals, and maybe pick up gardening. All these very, very simple ways. But what you're doing, you're creating a direct communication. And you begin to create not only from your strength, but in alignment with the strength of Mother Earth, which is so, so powerful. I promised you 2 books. This is the time for it. The book number 1, that is truly will be a jewel of your mystical library. It's called The Great Cosmic Mother, right? The Great Cosmic Mother. Yes, it's a big book. It's a big book. But you know what? You're going to have it for the rest of your life, and you're going to highlight lots of part of it. But this book will open up a whole stream of wisdom that have been hidden, that have been suppressed, that have been stolen from us. And there is archaeological evidence. There is all kind of incredible academic level research, right, that points to the female nature of the universe, the female essence of the one great creatrix that breathed this entire cosmos into existence, right? So really powerful read. And then I just discovered this one other book. I know you're going to love this one. And it's called The Witch by Lisa Leister. Phenomenal book, unleashed, untamed, unapologetic. A really powerful book, so well written, so engaging to read. And what I love about it, there's so many rituals. There is herbs that you can work with. There is crystals. There is archetypes. There is a beautiful historical context. There's a personal stories of transformation, right? Because once we connect to the archetype of a witch or a wizard, right? The male version, we're connecting to the source of wild, untamed, unapologetic strength and power, right? That knows that we can heal ourselves. We can create through thought, through intention. through ritual magic, right? So very, very powerful archetype to begin to work with. And, this live stream was really intended to ignite your fascination. If you feel that to become a practicing witch is your calling, then you will be guided to a training that is required for that path. This is the path that demands rigorous devotional training, right? So you will be guided to a teacher, you'll be guided to a curriculum that will work and to support that path for you, right? But independently, if you desire to be a practicing witch or practicing wizard, or if you desire to establish a deeper connection with a nature's magic, with ceremonial magic, those two books are phenomenal. And then the affirmation that will help you heal the wound of being afraid of your own power is this one. It is safe to be powerful. It is safe to be prosperous. It is safe for me to be powerful. It is safe for me to be prosperous. And when the fears come up, celebrate them, because you are strong enough to work through them. There's many, many ways how you can do that, right? There's a ton of spiritual information available, and it's really, really beautiful, beloveds. So I'm gonna look through your questions, and I know that Sherry asked me a question about protection of children, right? And do witches have passion for protection of children? And I would say absolutely. We live in the world where the energies of rape, the energies of domination, the energies of sexual abuse are still present. Every year they become more and more exposed. Every year more and more collective shadows are coming to the light, right? And how many very powerful women that I have served in my life and continue to serve that are survivors of sexual abuse, me including, right? So, and that happens in childhood. So there is a sense of, powerful mission. If you feel it's a part of your soul mission to be a voice for the voiceless, you must trust that. And yes, you will receive your fair share of misunderstanding and criticism and cyber, like the online attack. This is the modern version of the witch hunt, right? I've never seen anybody who is truly outspoken and who stands bravely visible in his or her mission who are not being attacked. It just comes with the path, and the moment I realized that, wow, none of those attacks have any power over me, because I have like such a powerful spiritual team who is all around me, and so are you. You just get to connect with them and remember the protection. One of the reasons I work with Kali, Om Krim Kaliye Namaha. One of the reasons I work with Kali, that's a strong energy to work with. But wow, the protection that you receive, that she blesses her devotees with, And when I work with Kali, she is the great goddess of death and rebirth, the goddess of time, goddess that can give you a very powerful protection right? If you're not afraid of everything that she will ask you to let go of. Yeah, Kali is fierce love. She will not let you sweep anything under the rug. She will say, my child, let's be honest. Where are you losing your power? Where are you not standing in your power? I will give you my protection. I will give you my guidance, but I'm not going to let you play small. That's Kali message, right? So, so when it comes to wealth and power, every level of expansion will demand us to embrace a new level of power, a true, authentic power to serve, power to make a difference, power to liberate others. It takes power to create transformation. And this is why this is a lifetime where so many of us are being called to rise in our sovereignty, to rise in our power, and stop being afraid of it. All right. So it's safe for me to be powerful. It's safe for me to be successful. It is safe for me to be influential because I know where my heart is. My heart is in devotion to Divine Mother. Right. All right, beloveds. I love you so much. So good to be with you. How are you? How are you? Oh, wow. I've only been speaking for 30 minutes. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to take a look at your, I am going to look at your questions. Yeah, Tracy says, I love Witch. You love that book. It is epic. That book is epic. Yeah. Hi, beautiful community. I'm so grateful to share this. Like, let's just take a moment to feel a sense of awe. The level of change that is happening in the collective. I know we can focus on all the things that are like maddening right now, right? And I'm here to balance it out because I am an eternal optimist. Let's really acknowledge the profound shift in the collective consciousness that we are able to have these level of conversations out in the open without fearing for our life. You know, it's a part of the design that human consciousness does evolve gradually. Yes, we have avatars and sages and profound mystics who arrive on the planet to support collective evolution. But, you know, the reality is human consciousness evolves gradually, right? So if you're here, you're drawn to the conversation of past life and witch wounds and power and soul mission, is because you have lived so many lifetimes and you came specifically for this lifetime, knowing all the opportunities of technology, opportunities of expression, opportunities to create your own prosperity and reality through your gifts, through your imagination, through your creativity. Wow. You know, I want to focus on that. That's why I wanted Mystical Mondays to give a vibrational set point for the week, that we focus on possibilities, we focus on opportunities. Yes, challenges will continue to come. Yes, unexpected events on global scale will continue to happen, but we are ready for this. We are more than ready for this. And when we begin to work with our witchy powers and we begin to bring that witchy wisdom to our communities, we give people tools, we give people faith, right? Hope, faith, empathy, encouragement. And we remember that we do this great work together. We do this great alchemical work for the soul of the world. The soul of the world. Yeah. So embrace the witch within you or the wizard within you. It's a great honor. It's a great honor to be connected to that lineage, right? And if there are people in your life who misunderstand you, who criticize or judge you or think you are completely crazy or nuts, that's okay. Their consciousnse is not ready to see you. That's okay. That time will come. You'll meet them in different incarnations, in different form. They'll have another chance. Surround yourself with people who can see you, right? That's why I always talk about my fellow mystics, my fellow mystical souls, right? We came here for it and we recognize each other. It's I've always been drawn to the path of the priestess, right? And like ceremonies and channeling and mediumship. I was like always magnetized to those topics. And I trusted that because it's a particular path, right? So what I see right now, beloveds, is that we recognize each other. We're all feeling the call. All of us are feeling the call. And it's a call of Mother Nature. Divine Mother, she was known as Isis in the Egyptian tradition. Goddess Isis is nature personified, right? But the goddess is calling us. And the goddess is awakening within us. And her way is the way of celebration of life, the way of coming deep into our bodies, reconnecting with our moon cycles, reconnecting with the cycles of Earth, reconnecting with our truth, with our sexuality, with our bliss, with our pleasure, with each other, and seeing the benevolence of her plan unfolding. The goddess has a plan for humanity, and her plan is wild and mysterious and filled with grace. And she will use suffering and chaos and destruction as Kali would in order to shake us up from illusion, from sleep, to awaken us into the remembrance of what this life is truly can be about. So if you remember your past lives, congratulations, you are ready to remember something deep. And it is safe for you to be powerful this lifetime. It is safe for you to be prosperous. When you prosper, entire universe prospers because there is only one spirit expressing itself in many different ways, right? Very, very powerful. Yeah. Yes, beloveds. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Joanna is commenting. What a powerful comment from Joanna. She says, with all that I teach and lead in the realm of mysticism, I still have occasional fear that I'm leading people astray with the New Age teachings. I believe this stems from being raised Roman Catholic. Yeah. With the stories of a punishing male God, right, Gianna? Yeah. Punishing male God and hell. Exactly. Oh, Gianna, thank you so much for sharing this, beloved. It's a powerful alchemical process of purging out those belief systems. Like I personally don't believe in hell. I don't believe in devil. I think devil and Satan has been a very clever creations of a human mind, specifically a church. A church created devil, right? Because it's so much easier to put a blame on this entity instead of owning your own shadows, instead of owning your own lower energy. It's much easier to create this figure, right? And the darkness has its role, just how the night has its role. The day and night, we live in the plane of polarity. So, Gianna, it's a beautiful conversation that you are sharing, and I hear you, sister. If you lead people to the inner guide within, You lead them to the wisdom that's within. And then you serve people in a sovereign way. I always say, don't believe anything I say. Don't take my word for granted for truth. Go and research and experiment and try this ritual, try this practice. Only through direct experience can we grow in wisdom. Everything else is just a collection of knowledge. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. But wisdom is bliss, right? Wisdom is a direct experience. I searched long and hard for this interesting creature called devil or Satan that so many people are terrified. I searched for hell, but I did not find it. You know what I found? I found love. I found Divine Mother. I found the power of darkness to transform us. I found I'm not afraid of darkness, and this is the path of the witch, where you get to know your own shadow. You take responsibility for every shadow projections. And you get to know that world really well, the underworld. I was doing this transmission on Inanna, Sumerian goddess. And in order for the feminine to really get initiating into the mysteries of life, there is a descent into the underworld, into our own shadows, and examining them. And only then we can teach or speak or lead from the place of wholeness, right? Powerful, powerful conversation. So, beloved community, I love you. Remember that witch stands for wise one, a woman of knowledge who speaks her mind, a woman who is connected to her healing abilities. And so I wanted to do this live stream in order to highlight the regality of this term and to dispel these programming that we can see, the patriarchal programming of the witch is this old, ugly woman who tricks children or tricks adults or misuses her power and casts spells. Question that programming. Where does it came from and why? Why? And of course, when you study a real history of the time of Inquisition, and 8 million women were killed. What are the chances that you and I have lived in those times? And we chose to come back to finish something that we've started many, many lifetimes ago. This is the most sovereign lifetime a lot of us have ever lived. So let's use that freedom, utilize this power of this freedom with responsibility and with deep devotion to be brave this week, to be unapologetic in our expression, to be visible, to be generous, to speak a much deeper message. Even if you're not going to receive an applause for that. You may receive some unfollows, some unfriends, but celebrate that. Allow the cleansing to happen so your true tribe can see you and can hear your message, right? That is powerful. And if you are passionate about the path of a healer, being a healer, right? Continue to deepen your mastery, knowing that you can heal yourself first and foremost. You can support others in healing. And wow, we need healers who are sovereign, who are prosperous, who are unapologetic, right? And that takes us rising in our power. I love you, beloved community. Thank you so much for joining me. This was the second Mystical Monday. And there are so many incredible people in the world who are doing this deep, deep work with helping others heal the witch wound. I was just introduced to an incredible woman that my friend Cynthia connected me with. I'm going to give you her name, because that's her entire body of work. Kimberly Jones. I was just introduced to her yesterday. So I'm looking forward to get to know her work. There's these wise women who dedicated their lives to this path, and they need to be acknowledged. And I really appreciate all the women who came, before us, the modern elders, the modern crones who've been trailblazing this path to make it easier for us. And for that, I say deep, deep thank you. Thank you, beloved community. This was me, Katarina Satori. You can find my work on my virtual home, katarinasatori.com, or any of my platforms. If you just Google me, Katarina Satori, you will see all of the options, right? Until then, be powerful, be prosperous, be visible, be all that you came here to be, because this is a very special lifetime, as you know.